In 1921, Einstein took to the stage at the Prussian Academy of Sciences in Berlin. What he was about to reveal would forever change our understanding of reality. But there was something he didn't say publicly. Something connecting his discoveries to a structure built 4.5 millennia ago, the Great Pyramid of Giza. And what he found there should have shaken the very foundations of history, but it was conveniently ignored. Why? Because if you knew what Einstein uncovered about the pyramids, everything you've been taught about ancient civilizations would crumble. Today I'm going to show you exactly what Einstein found, the identical mathematical formulas, the seemingly impossible proportions, and the question no one wants to answer. How did builders from 4,000 years ago know equations that were only rediscovered in the 20th century? If you're different, if you seek the truth beyond the official version, then stick around until the end, because what I'm about to reveal will completely change how you view the ancient world. Let's start with what you've been told. You've been told that the Great Pyramid is a tomb. An impressive structure, yes, but built by primitive workers dragging stones. Basic math. Simple engineering for the time. That's a convenient lie. Let me explain why this narrative is so problematic. The Great Pyramid contains approximately 2,300,000 blocks of stone. Each block weighs an average of 2.5 tons. Some blocks in the inner chambers weigh over 80 tons. The cut is so precise that you can't slip a piece of paper between them. Primitive workers, copper tools, earthen ramps. Do the math. If it took 20 years to build, as the official story suggests, that means they would have had to cut, transport, and position one block every 2.5 minutes, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for 20 straight years, with copper tools. Something doesn't add up. But the biggest problem isn't the engineering. It's the math hidden inside the structure. In 2021, researchers at the Institute of Physics at the University of Krakow published a detailed analysis of the mathematical proportions of the Great Pyramid. What they found confirmed what Einstein had suspected a century earlier. This structure contains mathematical knowledge that theoretically shouldn't have existed at that time. Let me show you the first secret. The Great Pyramid has a height of 146.5 meters. Its square base measures 230 meters and 40 centimeters on each side. Now, when you calculate the ratio between the apotheme, that's the distance from the top to the middle of one side of the base, and half the base, you get a very specific number, 1.61804. For those who don't recognize that number, it's practically identical to phi. The golden ratio, the number 1.618, the same number that appears in seashells, galaxies, DNA, and the most elegant equations of modern physics. Coincidence? Let's see. The ancient Egyptians supposedly didn't know phi. At least, that's what the official story tells us. Phi was only formally described by Euclid 300 years before Christ, more than 2,000 years after the construction of the pyramids. So how does this number appear in the exact proportions of the structure? The official answer is accident, mathematical coincidence. Einstein didn't believe in mathematical coincidences, and neither should you. But before I continue, I need you to understand something about phi. This number appears everywhere in nature, in the spiral of a nautilus shell, in the seed pattern of a sunflower, in the ratio between the bones in your arm, in the structure of spiral galaxies, even in your DNA, where the double helix makes a complete turn every 34 angstroms in length and 21 angstroms in width. 34 divided by 21 is 1.619. Phi. Leonardo da Vinci studied phi obsessively. He called it the divine proportion. The Greeks built the Parthenon using phi. Musicians discovered that phi appears in the proportions of Stradivarius violins. And here's the crucial point. Modern mathematicians and physicists agree that phi represents a kind of signature of the universe, a number that appears naturally when systems seek the most efficient or aesthetically harmonious form. Einstein knew this. He studied phi extensively, and when he analyzed the proportions of the Great Pyramid, he found phi encoded in stone, built 4,500 years before any mathematician supposedly knew this number. Think about what that means. In his 1921 lecture, Geometry and Experience, Einstein posed a question that echoes even today. How is it possible that mathematics, a product of human thought independent of all experience, fits so well with reality? That question wasn't rhetorical. Einstein was pointing to something profound. Mathematics seems to be the fundamental language of the universe, and the builders of the pyramid seem to know this language. But wait, phi is just the beginning. The second secret is even more disturbing. When you measure the perimeter of the base of the Great Pyramid and divide it by its height, you get a very familiar number. Twice pi, the number 3.14, the ratio between the circumference and the diameter of any circle. This means that if you take the height of the pyramid as the radius and draw a circle, the circumference of that circle will be exactly equal to the perimeter of the square base. Mathematicians call this squaring the circle, a problem that fascinated thinkers for millennia. The Greeks tried to solve it for centuries. Medieval mathematicians racked their brains. Only in the 19th century was it mathematically proven that perfect squaring of the circle is impossible with a ruler and compass. And yet, the Egyptians seem to have solved it in stone 4,500 years ago. Not perfectly, but with an accuracy of 99.9%. How is it possible that primitive builders, with no formal knowledge of pi, managed to incorporate this number so precisely into their structure? The conventional answer is that they used a wheel to measure. That pi appeared accidentally because they rolled ropes around drums. But this explanation ignores a crucial fact: the precision. If it were accidental, there would be variations, errors, imprecisions. Instead, we find mathematical consistency throughout the structure. Now you might be thinking, maybe they arrived at this through trial and error. Maybe it's another accident. So let me show you the third secret. And that is what will completely change your perspective. That is what convinced Einstein that there was something much bigger going on. The number 43,200 seems random. It's not. Multiply the perimeter of the base of the Great Pyramid, 3,024 feet, by 43,200. The result? The equatorial circumference of the Earth, exactly. Now multiply the height of the pyramid, 481 feet, by 43,200. The result? The polar radius of the Earth, again, exactly. Where does this number, 43,200, even come from? It represents the axial precession of the Earth, the 25,920-year cycle that our planet takes to complete one wobble on its axis, divided by 600. This means that the ancient builders of the Great Pyramid not only knew the exact dimensions of the Earth, but also understood its long-term astronomical movement. 4,500 years ago, without telescopes, without satellites, without GPS, without airplanes to see the Earth from above, without calculators, without computers. How did they know the exact size of the planet they inhabited? Stop and think about that for a moment. We only managed to measure the circumference of the Earth with precision in the 18th century, using advanced instruments and sophisticated mathematics. And yet the pyramid builders encoded these dimensions into their structure more than 4,000 years before. The official answer is silence, because there is no official answer that makes sense. Skeptics argue that any structure large enough will contain numbers that can be manipulated to seem significant. And that's true, to a certain extent. You can find patterns anywhere if you look hard enough. But here's the difference. The pyramids don't contain just one significant number. They contain phi, pi, the dimensions of the Earth, and the axial precession, all encoded in the same structure, all with extraordinary precision. The probability of that happening by chance is astronomically low. And that's why serious mathematicians pay attention, and that's why Einstein paid attention. Einstein understood this. In his private notes, he repeatedly returned to the question of geometry as a universal language. He wrote, Geometry owes its existence to the need to learn something about the relations of real things to each other. The very word geometry, which means earth measuring, proves this. Earth measuring is geometry. And the Great Pyramid is literally a scale representation of the earth. This isn't conspiracy theory. These are numbers, pure mathematics, verifiable by anyone with a calculator. But here's where it gets really interesting. In 2016, a viral meme started circulating online. It pointed out that the geographical coordinates of the Great Pyramid are 29.9792458 degrees north, and the speed of light in a vacuum is 299,792,458 meters per second. The same digits, in the same order. Now, fact-checkers quickly pointed out the problems with this claim. The latitude system was only invented centuries later. The meter was only defined in 1771. The speed of light was only measured precisely in the 20th century. All of that is true. And technically, the exact latitude of the pyramid's apex is slightly different. But here's what the fact-checkers don't explain. Why was the pyramid built in exactly that location, of all the possible places in Egypt? Why there? The official answer is that it was convenient. Near the Nile, solid ground. But there were dozens of other places that met those criteria. Why specifically that spot? Einstein would have appreciated that question, because he knew that in nature, nothing is truly random. Patterns emerge, connections appear, mathematics reveals hidden truths. And there's one more detail about the location that few people know. The Great Pyramid is positioned at the exact center of the Earth's landmass. If you draw straight lines through all the continents, the point where they meet is exactly where the pyramid was built. This was discovered using satellite mapping in the 20th century. But the pyramid has been there for 4,500 years. How did the ancient Egyptians know that that was the center of the landmass? They would have had to know the exact shape of all the continents, continents that they supposedly didn't even know existed. One more coincidence to add to the list. Remember what I said about phi appearing in the proportions of the pyramid? Let me tell you something that very few people know. Phi has a unique mathematical property. When you square phi, the result is phi plus 1. No other number does that. And this property was used deliberately in the design of the pyramid to create harmonic proportions. The Egyptians used a ratio of 14 to 11 in the angle of the sides. 14 divided by 11 is 1.2727. The square root of phi is 1.272, practically identical. Coincidence? Again, how many coincidences do you need before you admit that there's a pattern? Einstein once said, "God does not play dice with the universe." He was talking about quantum mechanics, but the principle applies here, and mathematics doesn't lie. Numbers don't conspire. If phi, pi, and the dimensions of the Earth appear encoded in an ancient structure, there's a reason. The question is, what reason? There are two possibilities. First, the ancient Egyptians had extraordinarily advanced mathematical and astronomical knowledge that has been lost. Second, they received this knowledge from some source that we don't understand. Official science rejects both. It prefers to believe in multiple improbable coincidences. Einstein didn't accept convenient answers. He spent his life questioning the obvious. And when he looked at the pyramids, he saw what you're seeing now, mathematical evidence of knowledge that shouldn't exist. In Geometry and Experience, Einstein wrote a phrase that sums it all up. Insofar as the laws of mathematics refer to reality, they are not certain. And insofar as they are certain, they do not refer to reality. Seems contradictory. That's exactly the point. Einstein was saying that pure mathematics is one thing, physical reality is another. But when the two coincide perfectly, as in the pyramids, something profound is happening. The ancients called this sacred geometry, the idea that certain mathematical proportions reflect a cosmic order, that numbers like phi and pi are not human inventions, but discoveries of eternal truths. Einstein agreed. He used the expression cosmic religious feeling to describe his relationship with the universe, not a traditional religion, but a profound sense that reality is structured by elegant mathematical principles. In 1930, Einstein had a series of dialogues with the Indian poet and philosopher Rabindranath Tagore. In these encounters, they discussed the nature of reality, of truth, and of consciousness. Einstein expressed his belief that truth exists independently of the human mind, that mathematics describes an objective reality. Tagore presented a different perspective. He argued that truth is co-created by the mind and the universe, that consciousness is fundamental. What's fascinating is that both perspectives find an echo in the Great Pyramid. The structure exists objectively, with its immutable mathematical proportions, but it was created by conscious minds who somehow accessed universal truths. Einstein never entirely resolved this tension in his own thinking, but he recognized that there was something mysterious in how mathematics and reality intertwine. And the Great Pyramid is the oldest and most impressive physical proof of this structure. This connection between mind and cosmos. Think about it. A construction that encodes phi pi, the dimensions of the Earth, and possibly even the speed of light in its location, built with precision that even today would be difficult to replicate. Aligned with true north with a margin of error of 3/60ths of a degree. And this alignment deserves special attention. The Great Pyramid is aligned with the 4 cardinal points with an accuracy of 0.05 degrees. This is more precise than the Greenwich Observatory, which was built specifically to calculate astronomical positions. How did the ancient builders achieve this level of precision? The magnetic North Pole shifts constantly. The position of the stars varies over millennia. To align a structure with this exactitude, you need profound astronomical knowledge and sophisticated measuring instruments, instruments that supposedly didn't exist, and more. The pyramid is also aligned with the Orion's belt. The 3 pyramids of Giza, when viewed from above, mirror the position of the 3 stars of Orion's belt. The Pyramid of Menkaure, the smallest, is slightly offset from the perfect alignment, exactly as the star Mintaka is offset from the other 2. The Egyptians were mapping the sky on Earth. Why? For what purpose? Official science says it was religious. Orion was associated with Osiris, the god of the afterlife. But that doesn't explain the mathematical precision. Religious temples don't need perfect alignment with true north, unless they weren't just religious temples, unless they had a function that we don't fully understand. How? The answer they give you is slaves, ramps, patience. The answer that mathematics suggests is lost knowledge from a civilization that understood the universe in ways that we are only beginning to rediscover. Einstein was ahead of his time in many things: relativity, quantum physics, the nature of space-time. But perhaps his most revolutionary insight was recognizing that knowledge isn't linear. Ancient civilizations may have understood truths that we, with all our technology, are still trying to achieve. If you've made it this far, you're part of a minority. Most people tune out when the official narrative is questioned. You don't. You want to know. When you click the super thanks, you're saying that the truth matters, that investigating the past is as important as exploring the future. Few channels do this because there's pressure to maintain the official version. Your support allows us to continue revealing what has been hidden. Now, let me tell you what Einstein really concluded. In the last years of his life, Einstein was obsessed with a unified field theory, a single equation that would explain all the forces of the universe: gravity, electromagnetism, nuclear forces, all connected by a single, elegant formula. He never published a final version. The 12 pages of notes found on his bedside table after his death in 1955 still haven't been fully deciphered. The Hebrew University of Jerusalem, which holds his archives, periodically releases new documents. In 2019, a lost page was discovered in a box of letters. What it contained has never been publicly disclosed. There's speculation that Einstein was exploring connections between modern physics and ancient knowledge in his final years. Letters to colleagues mention his interest in how the ancients understood the universe. He frequently quoted Pythagoras' phrase, "Everything is number." Pythagoras lived in the 6th century BC. He traveled to Egypt and supposedly studied in the temples for more than 20 years. When he returned to Greece, he founded a school that taught that mathematics was the fundamental language of reality, the same principle that Einstein championed 25 centuries later. Coincidence? Or transmission of ancient knowledge? But we know that he believed in a fundamental truth, that the universe is mathematical in its essence, that the same proportions appear on cosmic and atomic scales, that reality is a web of interconnected numbers. The builders of the pyramids seem to know this 4,500 years before Einstein was born. This doesn't prove aliens. It doesn't prove lost civilizations of Atlantis. What it does prove is something perhaps even more disturbing, that our understanding of ancient history is incomplete, that there was sophisticated knowledge that was lost or suppressed, that the ancients weren't ignorant primitives waiting for the Greeks to invent geometry. There's a theory that Einstein considered plausible, the idea that knowledge is cyclical, that civilizations rise, reach high levels of development, and then fall, and that some of that knowledge is preserved, transmitted through symbols, structures, and traditions that survive the cataclysms. The pyramids may be exactly that, a library in stone, a repository of mathematical knowledge encoded in a way that would survive millennia, not in books that rot, not in papyri that burn, but in geometric proportions that any sufficiently advanced civilization could decipher. If you wanted to send a message to the future, a message that would last 10,000 years, how would you do it? Paper doesn't work. Metal rusts. Digital files depend on specific technology, but stone endures, and mathematics is universal. Phi is phi in any language. Pi is pi to any civilization. Proportions don't depend on translation. Perhaps the pyramid builders were sending us a message that says, we know, we understand. And when you're ready to listen, you'll find the hidden knowledge embedded in these numbers. Einstein found it. And now you understand too. The ultimate question is this: what do you do with this information? You can ignore it. Retreat back to the comfortable version of history, where the pyramids are just large tombs, where mathematical coincidences are, well, just coincidences. Or you can continue questioning, investigating, connecting dots that official history prefers to keep separated. Einstein chose to question. He spent his life challenging what everyone accepted as truth. And because of that, we understand the universe in ways our grandparents couldn't even imagine. You can choose too. You can accept the story you've been told, or you can look at the numbers and ask your own questions. Why phi? Why pi? Why 43,200? Why that specific location? Why the perfect alignment with Orion? That's a lot of coincidences. Too many coincidences. And when there are too many coincidences, maybe they aren't coincidences at all. The Great Pyramid is an invitation, a mathematical challenge left in stone. It's saying, come, discover, understand. Einstein accepted that invitation. Will you accept it? In the comments, let me know. Do you think this is coincidence or hidden knowledge that's been lost? Type coincidence if you think the numbers are accidental. Type knowledge if you think the ancients knew more than we admit. And if you disagree with something I've said, comment where. I'll be responding to all comments in the first 2 hours. Debate is how we arrive at the truth. Until the next video, continue questioning, continue seeking. The truth is out there and hidden in ancient numbers, in ratios, in ancient structures that withstand the test of time. And people like you, who don't accept easy answers, are the ones who will find it.